So, should I start whenever?
Whenever, sir.
Please direct your attention to the affirmative's first counter-argument in observation 3, sub-point A, where the affirmative is trying to compare the U.S. military to a sports game when they said, when they used the example of Dodgers game versus the Astros, how the Astros had a lower budget, I believe, than Dodgers, and they still ended up winning the World Series. That's completely irrelevant. You can't compare military and armed force to a sports game. So that just completely just shatters that argument. And then they proceed to use an example of how the U.S. won a war against Great Britain, the Great Revolutionary, and to show that even with less money, an opposing side could win if they use their resources correctly. But then in that argument as well, we're the ones, the U.S. are the ones defeating the enemy. So it's like, imagine that. And so now that we're the great power, that just shows how much more, it'll be that much more difficult to defeat us, rather since we were the ones who were top of the greater power. And which leads into the affirmative second argument in the same topic, where they state the U.S. has the biggest budget. Because we have we have to have the biggest budget because we have many enemies such as Russia and China. But thinking about it more, if you consider that the U.S. But referring back to what I just previously said, since we were able to topple Great Britain with far less funding, standing against China and Russia with more funding than they currently do shouldn't be too problematic considering our past efforts. Okay, and then the affirmative also argues against our point of how the military is still increasing the defense budget, even though it's the best funded military by far. And they state that due to the inflation, that a steady defense budget will gradually be less and less buying power than it has right now. And the thing is, it's like, in considering actual realistic economical values, unless the dollar somehow, like this stock market and the economy just crashes, the dollar won't decrease in value enough so that the minimal, I guess if you want to call it a couple $1 billion minimal, increase won't be enough to like completely set us behind, and it won't put us behind the other countries, especially since China only increased their military spending budget by 5.4%, which is only 2.4% more than us. But it's relative to the amount we already have. So our 3% increase is far more than their 5.4% increase, since since I believe their budget is 200 billion, as they stated, and ours is 700 billion. And so then that's just, and that we're constantly growing since it is a steady climb. And referring to the Navy ships that are not completely made to the perfection or whatever, then how it doesn't qualify for maximum potential. Maximum potential doesn't entirely mean the max that it can possibly do something. It could mean maximum potential to what we have. So the max potential is focused on what we wanted to focus on. So you can't look at something and you can't say, oh, because that has a blemish, the whole thing is flawed. And then I stand open for cross-examination.
My first question is, you said that since we were able to beat Great Britain with the less, we can now beat China and Russia since we have a bigger budget. How do you know that?
I didn't say we could. I said it would be more difficult. It would be a stretch to say we would fall far behind them now that we are the greater power. We have more funding than they do.
Yeah, are you aware that Rome started off as a very small nation and grew to power and then eventually fell?
No, because I don't think it's relevant, since the Roman Empire was based on a completely different, was in a different era and at different times, and the, I guess, governing system wasn't entirely the same.
Okay, you don't think that's relevant, but then how can you say that, because we beat Great Britain with less, we can now beat China with more? Isn't that irrelevant? Because China and Russia are far different from Great Britain.
Yes, so referencing the past is entirely the best option, but that's all you seem to do in your 1AC, where you reference Great Britain, the American Revolution yourself, and then you try to use the social something.
And so because we referenced the past and that wasn't right, you're gonna do the same?
No, I'm merely correcting and showing a different view of your view.
Okay. And you said that unless the dollar crashes, it won't decrease in value enough to set us back. Have you ever bought gas and noticed how you can't buy the same amount every time?
Yes, and it's not noticeable enough so that it completely makes you go broke. You don't just go broke from one gas, from a cent or two. It's like, yeah. Because even if the gas is increasing, your pay is also increasing, such as the minimum wage increasing. So yeah, we're going into that example.
Have you,